segment, climate change. This is one that still continues to be out there. It used to be global warming, this and that. The problem that I have with this whole thing is that the argument's not being presented in such a way or launched out there with a resolution in mind, not a clear target in mind. The talking heads that spout off can only come up with things that they want to mention that are being repeated, kind of parroted back, and they're not realistic goals like net zero carbon emission. Never going to happen. It's impossible. More importantly, it would pretty much collapse civilization as we know it to try to even get to that section, right? To get to that goal. So this isn't a realistic goal or expectation in my mind. More so to the point that since the 1970s, which is what I can remember, and maybe it goes back further than that, don't know, but since the 1970s, there have been people who have been using fear as the motivator to try to get the public to do something. And every one of these things from way back when up to the most recent, every one of these things they warned us about, that they tried to fearmonger on, has been proven inaccurate, has been proven to not be the case. It didn't occur. The world did not melt. All the ice is not gone. More importantly, something happens every time the government or the bodies that are pushing climate as a major factor, their own data that they release doesn't support their chicken little sky is falling theories. Their actual data that they release paints a different picture, a one of much more moderate and non-alarmist type deal. But I get it, that doesn't sell. They're not going to get anybody towards this. The other factor that kicks in is you guys monetized it. Okay, the moment you put that greed piece in there, that people could actually make money off of this shit, some people did, but as usual, the middle class of America picks up the tab every freaking time. So that's shot holes in this whole, that this needs to be a number one priority piece. Make no mistake, protecting the environment and conservation efforts need to continue on, and we need to get better at it. And those are legitimate conversations that can be had. But the alarmist, fear-mongering, gaslighting maneuver that takes place out there by one party or another, dude, come on, stop. Because you're killing this message 100% through and through. And at some point, which is starting to happen now, you're being exposed for it. More and more people are coming up and they're talking, and they're being given a stage by, one of the necessary evils, which is social media. They've got a stage to voice these opposition points now. No longer can the mainstream media silence them and not let the public hear their message. And that is one of, hey, there's something taking place. We can't pinpoint how much interaction that the humans are having. We do know that, improving and reducing air pollution is a good thing. We don't want to, ruin our water systems with hazardous materials. Of course, we know that's right. These are smart things, and yeah, unfortunately, in some cases, regulation is needed because some businesses are more worried about their stockholders and shareholders than they are anything else. And they're willing to just do very unethical things, in that process. So certain areas of regulation is still needed for sure, but at some point you got to stop the the craziness and, like I said, the fear mongering and gaslighting and just ignorant statements where you're saying one thing, but the data you literally put out there that most 99.9% of the people won't look into this paperwork that you're giving. Like, for instance, the fact that Earth is technically in a cooling phase right now, not a warming phase. You don't want to talk about that. Or how about the fact that traditionally over the course of, since recorded time has been around, we know that during warming trends on this planet is when civilizations and industry do best. And that's when the least amount of famine occurs because the food supply is much higher. There isn't always bad only that comes with this stuff, man. There's some things that, again, it's that measure, right? It's the moderation. Where I tend to live as a conservative liberal is right down that, that line down the middle piece. But we can't sit there and have unrealistic goals and expect this conversation to go well. Okay, it just isn't going to happen that way. Got to get common sense in there, and let's start working our way through things with level heads out there. That's the opinion. Tight lines.